They found her 3 days after the snowstorm. Not alive. At least, that's what they thought. Her body was curled beneath a frozen oak tree, skin blue as ice, lips cracked and bloodless. Snow had buried her up to her shoulders. From a distance, she looked like just another piece of the frozen landscape. Just another casualty of winter. Just another forgotten soul. But they were wrong. Because Kira Ashbourne wasn't dead. Not yet. But before we dive in, I need to ask you something that truly matters to me. If you've enjoyed my stories before, or if you're here hopping this one will move you, please don't leave without subscribing. Without your subscription, YouTube buries everything I create. The people searching for stories that make them feel something, stories about resilience, love, impossible choices, they'll never find them. Because the algorithm decided I wasn't worth showing. I'm not asking for money. Just 30 seconds to hit that subscribe button so others can discover these stories too. I pour everything I have into every word, every character, every chapter. And knowing I could reach someone who desperately needs it but won't because you didn't click, that genuinely breaks my heart. Please subscribe. It costs you nothing, but to me, it means someone believes these stories matter. Now let's continue. Let me take you back. 6 days earlier. Kira's life had never been easy, but she'd learned to survive it. Her name was Kira Ashbourne, though the Ashbourne part was really just a courtesy. She wasn't blood, not really. Her mother had been a pack member of Shadowpine, sure, but she died giving birth to Kira. And her father, unknown, probably some rogue her mother had been foolish enough to fall for. That made Kira an outsider from day one. When she was 3, her stepfather, Alpha Cornelius Ashbourne, married into the pack. He brought with him a daughter, Mara, golden-haired, blue-eyed, perfect Mara. And from that moment on, Kira became invisible. She was the shadow in the corner, the girl who scrubbed floors while others danced, the one who ate leftovers after everyone else had their fill. But the worst part, she had no wolf. In a world where your wolf defined your worth, where shifting was as natural as breathing, Kira was broken. An omega, wolfless, powerless. 19 years old and still, human. Maybe you're cursed, Mara would whisper, just loud enough for others to hear. Maybe the moon goddess forgot about you. Kira would smile and nod and swallow the pain. Because what else could she do? The winter gathering was the biggest event of the year. Every pack within 200 miles gathered at Shadowpine's Great Hall. It was a night of politics, alliances, and carefully arranged marriages. And this year, Mara was the star. She'd gotten engaged 3 months earlier to Ronan Greythorn, the beta of the Silverclaw pack. It was a massive political win for Shadowpine. Ronan was powerful, connected, rich. Mara had spent weeks preparing. Her dress cost more than Kira would see in a lifetime. Kira's job that night. Serve drinks, stay quiet, don't embarrass the family. She was good at that. The hall was packed, music thundered, wolves drank and laughed and danced. Kira moved through the crowd like a ghost, refilling glasses, clearing plates, keeping her head down. That's when she saw them. Mara. And a man who definitely wasn't Ronan. Kira had gone to the storage room to grab more wine. The door was slightly ajar. And inside, pressed against the shelves, was Mara. Her dress hiked up, her hands tangled in the hair of a tall, dark-haired warrior Kira recognized from the Ironclaw delegation. Kira froze. Mara's eyes snapped open. They locked onto Kira. For one terrible second, the world stopped. Then Mara shoved the warrior away, smoothing her dress, her expression shifting from shock to something far more dangerous. Ice-cold calculation. Kira, she said softly, sweetly, what are you doing here? I was just getting wine. I didn't see anything, I swear. The warrior slipped past Kira without a word, disappearing into the crowd. Mara stepped closer. You didn't see anything, she repeated. It wasn't a question. No, nothing, I promise. Mara smiled. but her eyes were dead. Good girl. Kira left the room, her heart pounding. She told herself it was fine. Mara believed her. It was over. But deep down she knew. She just signed her own death warrant. The next morning, chaos erupted. Kira woke to screaming. Her stepmother, Luna Helena, was shrieking in Mara's room. Kira stumbled out of bed, her heart racing. What happened? My necklace, Mara sobbed, her face buried in her hands. Mother's heirloom, the engagement gift, it's gone. The necklace was a legendary piece, 3 centuries old, diamonds and moonstone woven together in intricate silver, worth more than most people's houses. And it was missing. Within an hour, the entire pack house was being searched. Warriors tore through rooms, overturned furniture, interrogated servants. And then they came to Kira's room. She was standing in the doorway when they pushed past her. Wait, what are you? One of the warriors lifted her mattress. And there it was. The necklace. Gleaming, undeniable. Kira's blood turned to ice. No, she whispered. No, I didn't, I would never. But no one was listening. They dragged her to the Alpha's office. Mara was already there, tears streaming down her face. Her mother stood beside her, face like stone. Alpha Cornelius sat behind his desk, fingers steepled. He didn't even look at Kira. I trusted you, Mara whispered, her voice breaking. I treated you like a sister. I defended you when others said you didn't belong. And this is how you repay me. I didn't take it, Kira's voice cracked. Mara, please, you know I didn't. Then how did it end up in your room? Helena snapped. I don't know. Someone must have put it there. Who? Cornelius finally looked at her. His eyes were cold. Who would frame you, Kira? You're nobody. You have no enemies because you have no importance. The words hit like a physical blow. Please, Kira begged. I'm telling the truth. I would never. Enough, Cornelius stood. You've brought shame to this house. You've stolen from your own family. There's only one punishment for this. Kira's legs gave out. No, please, Alpha, please. Exile. The word fell like an axe. Effective immediately. Exile in the dead of winter wasn't mercy. It was murder with plausible deniability. They stripped her of everything. Her coat, her boots, her scarf. Left her in nothing but a thin cotton dress and worn slippers. Maybe the cold will finally give you the wolf you always wanted. One of the warriors laughed as they shoved her into the transport vehicle. 2 warriors drove her 12 miles north. Into the Whispering Woods. Rogue territory. The kind of place even wolves feared. There were stories about these woods, about things that hunted between the trees, about people who went in and never came out. The vehicle stopped. They opened the door. Out. Kira's hands were shaking. Please, just let me grab a coat, something, anything. You should have thought of that before you stole. They shoved her out into the snow. She fell hard, her palms scraping against ice. The door slammed. The engine roared. And they were gone. Kira walked. What else was she supposed to do? The cold bit into her skin like thousands of tiny knives. Her breath came out in ragged clouds. Her feet were already numb. She wrapped her arms around herself and kept moving. 1 foot in front of the other. Don't stop, don't think, don't feel. Just move. She walked for hours. The sun began to set, painting the snow in shades of orange and red. Beautiful. Cruel. Her legs gave out somewhere around the 3rd hour. She tried to get up. Couldn't. Her body was shutting down. Hypothermia, she thought distantly. This is what it feels like. She crawled to the base of a massive oak tree, its branches heavy with snow. This is where I die. The thought was almost peaceful. She closed her eyes. And she let go. Darian Coldville didn't usually hunt rogues personally. He was the Alpha King of the Northern Territories. He had armies for that, generals, elite warriors. But there'd been reports of a feral pack near the border, attacks on travelers, missing wolves. And Darien didn't trust anyone else to handle threats to his territory. So he'd come himself, with his beta, Thuron, and a small hunting party. They'd been tracking the rogues for 2 days when he smelled it. Lavender and frost. The scent hit him like a freight train. His wolf, Fenrir, ancient and powerful, surged forward in his mind, snarling one word. Mate. Darien stopped dead. Sire, Thuron looked back. What is it? But Darien was already moving. Running. Following the scent like a man possessed. He found her under the oak tree, half buried in snow. Skin blue. Lips purple. Not moving. Not breathing. Darien's wolf howled in anguish. He dropped to his knees beside her, his hands shaking, something that never happened. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Nothing. No pulse. No heartbeat. Dead. His mate was dead. And he'd never even known her name. Rage and grief tore through him in equal measure. His wolf clawed at his mind, demanding he do something, anything. And then, the faintest flicker of warmth beneath his palm. He froze. Pressed harder. There. So faint he almost missed it. A heartbeat. 1. 2. She wasn't dead. She was dying. But she wasn't gone yet. Darien didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms, her body limp and frozen against his chest. Thuron, he roared through the mind link. His beta appeared through the trees seconds later, eyes wide. Get the healer. Now meet me at the keep. Sire, what? Now. Darien shifted, his wolf massive and black as midnight. He cradled her in his jaws, as gently as he could, and ran. Faster than he'd ever run in his life. The healers worked for 3 days. Kira's body temperature had dropped so low, they said it was a miracle her brain hadn't shut down completely. They wrapped her in heated blankets, forced warm liquids down her throat, used magic and medicine and everything they had. And Darien stayed. He didn't leave her side. Not to eat, not to sleep, not to attend to the kingdom. Thuron tried to pull him away. Sire, you need to rest. The council is demanding. I don't care. The rogues are still. Handle it. Thuron stared at him. Who is she? Darien's jaw tightened. She's my mate. The words hung in the air. Thuron's eyes went wide. Because Darien had spent 30 years without a mate. 30 years building a reputation as a king who had no weaknesses, no vulnerabilities, nothing anyone could use against him. And now? Does she know? Thuron asked quietly. She's unconscious. And when she wakes up... Darien looked at the girl in the bed, so small, so fragile. Then we'll see if she wants me. Kira woke up warm. That was the first thing she noticed. Warmth. Soft sheets, a roaring fire, the smell of cedar and smoke. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming. Or dead. Maybe this was the afterlife. Then she opened her eyes. Stone walls, tapestries, a chandelier made of antlers and crystal. And a man sitting in the corner. Watching her. He was overwhelming. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair that fell just past his collar, a scar running through his left eyebrow. And eyes. Silver eyes that seemed to glow in the firelight. He stood. You're awake. His voice was deep, cold, but underneath it something else. Something raw. Kira tried to sit up. Pain shot through every muscle in her body. Don't move, he ordered. Your body's still recovering, you nearly died. Where am I? Coldville Keep, the Northern Palace. The words didn't make sense. And then they did. Her blood went cold. You're the Alpha King. It wasn't a question. He inclined his head. And you are. Kira, her voice was barely a whisper. My name is Kira. Kira, he repeated, like he was tasting the word. Do you remember what happened? Flashes came back. The exile, the snow, the cold. Dying. They left me, she whispered. Who? My pack shadowpined they exiled me. Something dangerous flickered across his face. For what crime? Theft, but I didn't do it, I was framed. He studied her for a long moment. I believe you. Kira blinked. You do. Yes. Why? He moved closer, sat on the edge of the bed, and the air between them seemed to crackle. Because, he said quietly, you're my mate. Kira laughed. It was a broken, bitter sound. That's not possible. The bond doesn't lie. I don't have a wolf. I can't be anyone's mate. And yet here we are. She shook her head. No, you're wrong. You have to be wrong. I'm nobody. I'm nothing. I'm... Kira. The way he said her name made her stop. You are not nothing, he said, his voice like steel. And whoever told you that is a liar. Tears burned her eyes. I don't want this, she whispered. I don't want a mate. I don't want a bond. I just want to be left alone. For the first time in decades, Darian felt something crack inside his chest. He'd spent his entire life being feared, respected, obeyed, but never rejected. He stood. You're free to leave whenever you're strong enough, he said quietly. I won't force a bond on anyone. He walked to the door. Stopped. But Kira. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. The people who left you to die, I'm going to find them, and they're going to answer for what they did. The door closed behind him, and Kira was alone. Darian kept his word. He gave her space. Kira was moved to a private suite, given clothes, food, access to the library and gardens. She was treated like a guest, not a prisoner, and definitely not like the Omega she'd been her entire life. It was disorienting. Servants bowed to her, guards nodded respectfully. The head healer checked on her daily. Is there anything you need, miss? They'd ask. Miss. Not girl, not Omega, not you. Miss. Kira didn't know what to do with kindness. Meanwhile, Darian worked. He called in his intelligence network, spies embedded in every major pack across the territories. I want everything on Shadowpine, he told Thuron. Every financial record, every political alliance, every piece of gossip. Specifically, a girl named Mara Ashbourne and her family. It took less than 48 hours. What they found made Darian's blood boil. Thuron laid the evidence on Darian's desk. You're not going to like this. Tell me. The necklace was planted. We have a confession from one of the warriors who helped. Mara Ashbourne paid him 2,000 silver to hide it in Kira's room. Darian's hands curled into fists. Why? Because Kira saw something she wasn't supposed to. Mara was having an affair with a visiting warrior the night before the exile. Kira walked in on them. So she framed her for theft to cover up infidelity. Yes. Darian stood, packing. And the Alpha, Cornelius. Either willfully ignorant or complicit, hard to say, but he signed the exile order without an investigation. Send a formal summons, Darian said coldly. Shadowpine leadership is to appear before me in 1 week, all of them. Thuron raised an eyebrow. And if they refuse? Darian's smile was ice. Then I'll go to them. Kira spent most of her time in the library. It was massive, 3 stories of books, scrolls, maps, more knowledge than she'd ever imagined existed. She'd never had time to read before. Now, she devoured books like she was starving. Stories about heroes, about people who fought back, about underdogs who won. She was curled up in a window seat, reading about an ancient queen who'd united warring packs, when Darian found her. We need to talk. She looked up. He looked tired. What's wrong? He handed her a folder. What's this? Evidence. Kira opened it. And her world tilted. Witness statements, financial records, a signed confession from the warrior who'd helped Mara. All of it. Every lie, every betrayal. Laid bare. She framed me, Kira whispered. Yes. Because I saw her cheating. Yes. Kira's hands shook. And my stepfather. Signed your exile without question. The tears came hot and fast. Not from sadness. From rage. Pure, burning rage. I want to go back, she said. Darian went still, to Shadowpine. Yes. They tried to kill you. I know. And you want to face them. Kira looked up, her eyes blazing. I want them to see me. I want them to know they failed, that I survived, that I'm not the weak, pathetic Omega they threw away. Darian studied her. And then he smiled. It was a cold, dangerous, beautiful smile. Then let's give them a show. The next week was a blur. Darian had a proposition. The winter gathering is in 6 days. Every major pack will be there, including Shadowpine. You want me to go? I want you to walk in beside me, as my mate, and I want them to see exactly what they threw away. Kira's heart raced. And if I'm not ready? Then we wait. This is your choice, Kira, always. She thought about it. About Mara's smug face. About her stepfather's cold dismissal. About every servant who'd sneered at her, every packmate who'd treated her like dirt. I'll do it. Darian nodded. Then we need to prepare you. What followed was intense. Etiquette lessons, politics, pack hierarchy. But also, surprisingly, self-defense. You said you wanted them to see you're not weak, Darian said, tossing her a training staff. So let's make sure you're not. Kira had never fought in her life. But she learned. And she was good. You're a natural, Theron observed, watching her disarm one of the junior warriors. Kira grinned, breathless. For the first time in her life, she felt powerful. The night before the gathering, Kira couldn't sleep. She stood on her balcony, watching snow fall over the palace grounds. Nervous. She turned. Darian stood in the doorway, dressed casually for once. No formal jacket, just a shirt and pants. He looked human. Terrified, she admitted. He joined her at the railing. You don't have to do this. I know. We can present the evidence without you being there. I know. So why? Kira looked at him. Because I need to. For me. I need to look them in the eye and show them they didn't break me. Darian nodded slowly. You're brave. I'm angry. That too. They stood in comfortable silence. And then Kira asked the question that had been haunting her. Why did you save me? Darian was quiet for a long moment. Because the bond told me to. That's it, just instinct. He turned to face her fully. At first, yes, but now, he paused. Now I'd save you because you're Kira, because you're stubborn and fierce and you refuse to give up even when the world tells you to, because when you smile, it's real, because you deserve better than what they gave you. Kira's breath caught. I'm still not sure about the bond. I know. I might never be. I know that too. And you're okay with that. Darian smiled sadly. I'd rather have you in my life as a friend than lose you as a mate. Something shifted in Kira's chest. Something warm and terrifying and wonderful. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me. The winter gathering was magnificent. The great hall of the Silvercrest pack was decorated in silver and white. Hundreds of wolves from dozens of packs filled the space. Music played. Wine flowed. And then the doors opened. A horn sounded. Alpha King Darian Coldville of the Northern Territories. The room went silent. Darian walked in, imposing in black and silver. But every eye in the room went to the woman beside him. Kira wore a gown of midnight blue that seemed to shimmer like starlight. Her hair was swept up in an elegant style. A silver circlet rested on her head. She looked like royalty. She looked powerful. She looked nothing like the broken Omega they'd thrown away. At the shadow pine table, Mara's wine glass slipped from her hand. It shattered on the floor. Alpha Cornelius stood, his face red. What is the meaning of this? Darian's voice cut through the room like a blade. The meaning, he said coldly, is that you exiled my mate. You left her to die in the frozen woods, and now you're going to answer for it. The room erupted in whispers. Cornelius's eyes went to Kira. That's impossible. She's wolfless. She can't be. Can't be what? Kira spoke for the first time, her voice clear and strong. Can't be anyone's mate. Can't be worth anything. Can't be more than the Omega you decided I was. Mara stood, tears already forming. Kira, please. This is all a misunderstanding. Sit down, Darian ordered. The command was so absolute that Mara dropped back into her chair. We have evidence, Darian continued. Evidence of conspiracy, of fraud, of attempted murder. Thuron stepped forward, holding the files. What followed was brutal. Every piece of evidence, every witness statement, the warrior's confession. Mara tried to lie. She's making it up. She's always been jealous of me. But the proof was undeniable. Cornelius tried to deflect. Even if this is true, it was Mara's doing. I had no knowledge. You signed an exile order without investigation, Darian said coldly. You sentenced your stepdaughter to death based on circumstantial evidence. That's either incompetence or malice. Either way, you're guilty. The Council of Alphas convened. They deliberated for less than an hour. Cornelius was stripped of his alpha title. Shadowpine would be absorbed into a neighboring pack. Mara was banished, cast out with nothing, just like Kira had been. No, Mara screamed. You can't do this. I'm engaged. I'm important. Your engagement is void, the Silverclaw Alpha said coldly. My beta wants nothing to do with a liar and a cheat. As guards dragged Mara away, she locked eyes with Kira. I hope you're happy, she spat. Kira stepped forward. And for the first time in her life, she felt no fear. I'm not happy, she said quietly. I'm free, and that's so much better. 3 months later, Kira woke up gasping. Her skin was on fire. Her bones felt like they were breaking and reforming. Darian was beside her in seconds. What's wrong? I don't know. Something's happening. And then she felt it. A presence inside her, ancient, powerful. Waiting. Hello, Kira. The voice in her head was feminine, strong. I've been here all along, waiting for you to be ready. My wolf, Kira whispered. Darian's eyes went wide. The shift was instinctual. One moment, Kira was human. The next, she was wolf. And not just any wolf. She was massive, pure white like fresh snow, with eyes the color of ice. Gasps echoed through the room. Guards and servants had rushed in at the commotion. A moon wolf, Thuron breathed, by the goddess. Moon wolves were legends, the rarest bloodline, born once in a generation. They were said to be the goddess's chosen. Kira shifted back, naked and shaking. Darian wrapped her in a blanket, his eyes shining with awe. You've always had it, he said. Your wolf, it was just waiting. For what? He smiled. For you to stop believing you were powerless. Later, when they were alone, Darian asked the question he'd been holding back for months. The bond is complete now. Your wolf recognizes it, recognizes me. Kira nodded. And you still have a choice, he continued. I meant what I said. I won't force this, even now. Kira looked at him. This man who'd saved her, who'd given her space, who'd helped her find her strength, who'd seen her when no one else had. I choose you, she said. Darian went still. You're sure? Not because of the bond, she continued, or because of fate, or because you're an alpha king. I choose you because you're Darian, because you're kind when you don't have to be, Because you made me feel like I mattered. He cupped her face in his hands. You've always mattered. I know that now. He kissed her, and Kira finally understood what home felt like. 6 months later, Kira was crowned Luna Queen of the Northern Territories. The ceremony was massive. Every pack in the region attended, including the former members of Shadowpine, now integrated into other packs, but still present. Kira wore white and silver. As the crown was placed on her head, she looked out at the crowd, at faces that had once sneered at her, at people who'd called her worthless, and she felt nothing but pity, because they'd never understand. That strength wasn't about power. It was about surviving when the world told you to die. It was about rising when everyone expected you to stay down. A year later, Kira stood in the same forest where she'd almost died. The oak tree was still there, covered in snow. Darian stood beside her, his hand in hers. Why did you want to come back here? He asked. Kira smiled. Because this is where I died. The old me, the scared, powerless girl who thought she was nothing. She placed her hand on the tree. And this is where I was reborn. She turned to Darian. Thank you for finding me. Thank you, he said, for letting me. As they walked away, Kira looked back one last time. At the place where her old life had ended. And her new one had begun. They say the coldest winters create the strongest wolves. Kira had been left to freeze. Abandoned by the people who should have protected her. Cast aside like she was nothing. But she didn't just survive. She became a queen. Not because of fate. Not because of destiny. But because she refused to let them define her. And the family that threw her away. They learned what happens when you underestimate someone. When you break someone and assume they'll stay broken. Because sometimes, the girl you left in the snow becomes the queen who rules the winter. And there's no coming back from that.